All right, welcome back to Pointing Out Politicians. I am your host. My name is Sherman, and today we're going to talk about Nancy Pelosi. Seems that
Nancy Pelosi. Why is she now willing to move forward in coronavirus stimulus talks? Was it all about the president? Let's take a closer look.
bear with me. We're going to go on a journey. All right, so here we go. First clip.
So there's nothing to, these are different. What was then before was not more of this. Has simplicity. It's what we've had in our bills. It's for a shorter period of time, but that's okay now because we have a new president.
So what this comes down to is she's willing to talk because we have a new president. But Nancy said that it wasn't about him before. Nancy said that she was working on behalf of the American people. So which one is it? So let's go back and take a look at what she said in October, and let's see how that matches up. So this is Nancy back in October. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten this a little bit. I'm going to take some clips out of it. The things that jumped out to me. I'm going to tell you why that's so important, at least from my perspective, why it matters so much, and give us an idea where Nancy's really coming from.
As you know, there are Americans who are being evicted from their homes. They can't pay the rent. Many Americans are waiting in food lines for the first time in their lives. Can you look them in the eye, Madam Speaker, and explain why you don't want to accept the president's latest stimulus offer?
Well, because, thank you very much, Wolf, and I hope you'll ask the same question of the Republicans about why they don't really want to meet the needs of the American people. But let me say to those people, because all of my colleagues, we represent these people. I have for over 30 years represented my constituents. I know what their needs are. I listen to them.
Certain people got so good at polling, right? You had all these polls going on about what the American people wanted. Maybe they should have just set up a simple poll about stimulus checks and asked the people who wants a check in their hand now. Come up with a couple questions. Say, would you be willing to wait for this? Would you be willing to wait for that? Would you rather have the cash in hand right now? You know, just a simple poll. Ask them how they feel about it. That would have been easy enough to do, right? But if you notice, no one ever talked about actually polling the American people on that. It's just an assumption made. I know what they want. I know what's good for them. Let's continue.
Even members of your own caucus, Madam Speaker, want to accept this deal, $1.8 trillion, Congressman Ro Khanna. And he just said this. He said, people in need can't wait until February. $1.8 trillion is significant and more than twice the Obama stimulus. Make a deal, put the ball in McConnell court. So what do you say to Ro Khanna?
What I say to you is, I don't know why you're always an apologist.
So what stands out about that to me? Once again, short bites of information, short clips to kind of put some things into context. Notice she didn't move to answer the question. The first thing she did was attack him. Think about that. Rather than move the question was asked in a decent manner. It wasn't like he was being overly aggressive. But rather than address the issue, the first thing she did was she moved to attack him. It's going to get a little heated as we go forward. Let's continue.
And many of your colleagues apologize for the Republican position. Ro Khanna, that's nice. That isn't what we're going to do, and nobody's waiting till February. I want this very much now because people need help now. But it's no use giving them a false thing just because the president wants to put a check with his name on it in the mail.
A couple things that jump out there. One, she says she wants it now, but there's no reason giving people a false thing. If you want it now, then you make it happen now, or you would have made it happen then. So there's something else preventing that from happening. I believe it's a bit too complex. It was a bit too complex. Rather just focusing on immediate need, it was taken as an opportunity to try to control policy in the midst of a crisis. In other words, use the crisis to drive future policy, not addressing immediate need. I think it was Hillary Clinton that said, never let a good crisis go to waste. But what I found most interesting was at the very end, right? she made the reference to Donald Trump. So was it about the people or was it about Donald Trump? We're going to come back to that. Let's continue.
Important right now. Yesterday I spoke to Andrew Yang, who says the same thing. It's not everything you want,
but you know what?
there's a lot
Okay.
there.
Honest to God, you really, I can't get over it because Andrew Yang, he's lovely. Ro Khanna, he's lovely. They are not negotiating.
Which is correct. They are not negotiating because she has that power. But which basically what she's saying, it doesn't matter what anybody else has to say. I know what's best. We're going to do this my way. And once again, it's not about the American people. It's about what I want to happen. And not just what I want to happen now, but what I want to happen in the future. Let's continue.
When was the
Answer
last
your
time,
own
Madam
questions.
Speaker, when was the last time you spoke with the president about this?
I don't speak to the president. Speak
Why
with
not? Why
his
not call him?
representative.
Why not call him and say, Mr. President, let's work out a deal. It's not going to be everything you want, not going to be everything I want, but there are so many Americans right now who are in desperate need. Let's make a deal.
What makes me amused, if it weren't so sad, is how you all think that you know more about the suffering of the American people than those of us who are elected by them.
Okay, once again, the redirect. Rather than addressing the question that was put forth or a statement that was made, she redirects it again. Now it's about you know more about the American people than I do. Maybe he does. Maybe people who are closer to the public, because they're closer to that status, do know more about the American people. It's possible, especially considering that during a pandemic, you're out getting your hair done. You got huge refrigerators full of ice cream. I don't. That doesn't seem like somebody who's in touch with the American people to me. To me, that seems like somebody who's living a completely different lifestyle. How long has it been since Nancy Pelosi has been a regular citizen? So we got these career politicians that go in politics and they're there for 10, 20, 30 years, 40 years. I mean, heck, Joe Biden been in politics since before me, right? So what do you know about the American people? You can't keep using that excuse about being in touch with the American people because you're not one of us. You're an elite. You've been living a completely different kind of life for so long that you've forgotten what it's like to be a regular American citizen. But we're going to come back to that because there's a clip later on that kind of comes back to that. You'll see what I'm talking about. Let's continue.
You wrote a letter to House Democrats and you said this. Let me read a line from the letter you wrote. The president only wants his name on a check to go out before Election Day and for the market to go up. Is that what this is all about? Not allow the president to take credit if there's a deal that will help millions of Americans right now?
He's not that important. But let me say this.
Okay, so now we get the truth, right? She says she doesn't care about that. He's not that important. But if you remember, at the very beginning, her reason for having a different attitude is because we have a new president or a president-elect other than Donald Trump, right? So which is it? Now you're saying it doesn't matter, but then you said you don't want his name on a check. So do you really care about the American people, or is it all about you don't want anything to get done unless it's done after or can be separated from Donald Trump? Let's continue.
We had 3.4, which would meet the needs of the American people for a sustained period of time so that there was some certainty in what would happen.
Two things here. What's important is the amounts of money that we're talking about. See, before she wanted more money. Then they negotiated, those numbers changed. It came down a little bit. But if you didn't really stop and look closely at that, you would think that it's about the money. But was it really about the money? Or was there something else? Was maybe the money was something to just kind of kick the can down the road a little bit? To kind of, make it take a little bit longer, possibly? And then at the end, she talks about some certainty. Well, there is no certainty. There could be no certainty. The only certainty that you could be sure of would be certainty of policy, which would be certainty of your plan, which means that something has to happen to solidify the way things you want things to go, not just in that situation, but long term, down the road. Some changes that you want made, some long term things that you want to happen. It wasn't about just addressing an immediate need or short term need. That's why she mentioned the fact that Joe Biden is the president elect. That's why she mentioned a new president. It wasn't about the American people. It wasn't about addressing their immediate need. She held the entire country ransom as part of a bigger plan right in front of them. The great misdirection was everybody focused on the amount of money. It's like playing chess. You not only have to know how the pieces on the board move, you not only have to know where you're at and what your immediate dangers are, but you have to think several moves ahead. This is why you see the left. The left is I got to give it up. I got to give up props. They're smooth, and they think way ahead. Meanwhile, the right, a little more, they seem a little more clumsy almost politically. Because although they're decent at addressing direct threats immediately, the left has this ability to have you completely oblivious to what they're really trying to do. All your attention is focused on what they want you to see. Meanwhile, they're running an entirely different game. And I say left and I say right. The funny thing about it is, if you look at the way things are working within the parties, where the splits are, it's something bigger than just a left-right thing. Look at the things that were always in common. Think about this. Left has a strategy, right has a strategy. Where those strategies meet, they meet at a vaccine. And both sides seem to agree that the vaccine is the answer. So if you look at that and you're like, okay, well, what's this have to do with me and my individual rights, freedoms, all that stuff like that, regardless of where you stand on the issue. But all the little places that we could have went in between, somehow that became the answer. And you can bet that regardless of who's in the White House in January, no matter who's controlling the Senate, no matter who's controlling the Congress, there's going to be a huge move made toward making sure that they get that thing in your arm the way that they want to do it. And regardless of who's running the country, you can look at, see what's happened. There's some changes that have been made. You have to imagine some of that stuff was intentional. It was planned. But anyway, let's continue.
Well, you don't even know how it's spent.
Why
You
not
don't even
talk
know
to
how
the
it's spent.
president personally, call him up and say, Mr. President, let's get a deal tomorrow?
Look, let me say this. The president has sent Mr. Mnuchin to negotiate. That's what we've done with other presidents. This isn't unusual.
Okay, what's so significant about that? That's what we've done with other presidents. This is nothing unusual. But aren't these unprecedented times? Isn't this an unusual situation? Aren't we facing a challenge like we've never faced before? Isn't everything urgent, crucial? Danger. So if that's the case, why wouldn't you pick up the phone, call the president, and say, hey, look, let's get this done? 1 minute, everything's an emergency. These are unprecedented times. These are uncertain times. All over the media, every channel, these uncertain times, these uncertain times, in these uncertain times. Yet, it's business as usual for you. You can't pick up the phone. How much sense does that make? Think about it. Moving along.
They are at a loss because the president has ignored the virus. I wish he would spend time on the fact that if he had not ignored the virus, we wouldn't be in the position we're in, but we are.
Pause. This is one that really bothers me. We wouldn't be in this situation if the president hadn't ignored the virus. Common theme, hear it over and over again, ignore the virus, ignore the virus, ignore the virus. But if you go back, when the borders were initially closed to traffic from China, people coming from China, she was one of the main ones saying that it was overkill, it was too much. She was the one saying, come to Chinatown, let's hang out, let's party. But then she's got the nerve to sit there and say he ignored the virus. Whether you're a Trump fan, not a Trump fan, my thing is this: I'm a grown man. All right, I don't hold any man in reverence like that. I don't run around kissing people behind. But right is right, wrong is wrong. The man reacted and did something that everyone advised him not to do. They fought him on that. How are you going to fight somebody on taking action and then accuse them of not taking action? Moving along.
I'm pleased that these pharmaceutical companies are taking the responsible position to halt and hopefully then resume, because we want the public to have confidence in whatever therapies or whatever vaccines come along, that they will take them.
Right.
And to people who say, well, I don't trust Trump on that.
We got this warp speed thing going on, right? And you're already producing a vaccine in a record time. It ain't safe anyway. It's not. I mean, it's. I mean, you're doing there's no future testing. You don't know what the long-term effects are going to be, right? But you would think that you'd want to, at least continue going through the process, continue developing this vaccine. Why would you want them to halt or pause? One thing I could think of is that you want to wait and see what's going on with the election, so that you can wait and see who wins, and then kind of move forward. That's the only thing I could think of. If you could think of something different, put that in the comments, please. Let me know. Let me know if I'm too far off base. But at the end of that clip, you notice that she invoked Trump again. Right? So I ask you, was it about the American people, or was it about Donald Trump? Let's make sure Donald Trump doesn't get any credit. Let's make sure that nothing good is attached to his name. But the American people don't care about that as much as they care about putting food on a table, taking care of their families, surviving, right? Once again, she held the entire country for ransom out of a personal conflict, political conflict. All this was a political game. So you got two parties dancing, playing these political games with your fate hanging in the balance. Because in this case, Nancy Pelosi had some political maneuvering to do and wanted to come out on top. But let's move on.
It's not about me. It's about millions of Americans who can't put food on the table, who can't pay the rent,
And
who are
we
having
represent
trouble,
them.
who
And we
are
represent them.
getting
And
by
we
on
represent
these
them.
long food
And we
lines that we're
represent
seeing.
them.
I know
we
you
know
are.
them.
I'm just
we
saying.
We represent them, and we know them.
At the very end, Nancy says she knows the American people. I brought it up earlier. It just seemed a little arrogant to me. But these are all just my thoughts, my perspectives. I want to know what you think about it. Put that in the comment section below. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. Make sure you subscribe and get involved. Because I definitely will be looking in the comment section. So comment, share, definitely like it if you liked it. So thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care and peace.